Hey, what's up, guys? Kryptonic here. Today we're gonna be going over 7.3 Havoc Demon Hunter. Um, we're gonna be going over uh, Azerite pieces, essences, corruptions. Because guess what, guys? Corruption Vendor is finally here. Now, it's not the best optimal way of going about it per se, but they're letting us get what we want. So, so yeah, let's start it off. All right. So right now I'm mode 471. I can go all the way up to 476 with uh, you know, gear in my bags and everything. But let's start off, with Azerite pieces. Azerite pieces are huge when it comes to Havoc Demon Hunter. Just because you need a specific lineup of 3 for 1, and then 3 more that are individuals. All right, so now what do I mean by that? Okay, we need 3 Furious Gaze. No questions asked. 3 Furious Gaze. Now, this 480 piece right here, Ace is increased by 1,161. Now, you times that by 3, so you're bumping your haste up by 3,300, 3,500 almost. you know huge boost, and this will actually play out once we go over our stat priority as well. Um so 3 Furious Gaze, um 1 Eyes of Rage. Eye Beam deals an additional 2,900 damage. Consuming a soul fragment reduces the cooldown of Eye Beam by 0.7 seconds. So now what this initially means is that now when you're shattering souls everywhere and you're collecting your souls, now you're constantly reducing your cooldown on eye beam, which piggybacks off of Furious Gaze, because now the more eye beams you do, the more haste you have. Now, then I would always recommend, overwhelming power, if to the best of your ability. Uh, and then everything else is pretty much just whatever you can get. Um, Now, going down to my shoulders, still have that other Furious Gaze, because remember, we need to have 3 Furious Gazes. Okay. Now, this one. So you have Thirsting Blades, and then there's also another trait called Revolving Blades. Okay. So this is the one where it's like you choose which one you want to run with, or whichever piece you get lucky to have Furious Gaze on it, and have the ability of either having Thirsting Blades or Revolving Blades. So the difference between Thirsting Blades and Revolving Blades. Thirsting Blades every 1.5 seconds increase the damage of Chaos Strike by 355 and reduce its cost by 1 Fury. This affects stacks. Okay, so I don't know if you guys noticed, but okay, so I'm running Thirsting Blades, and at the top here, I have a stack of 40. Your next Chaos Strike deals 21,300 additional damage. It costs 40 less Fury. Okay, so that means that the next Chaos Strike that I do, or Annihilation if I'm in meta, deals an additional 21,300 damage and costs 40 less Fury. Okay, so now that we have this 40 stack, I'm just going to go down here to my actual Chaos Strike, and even in the tooltip it says slice your target for 64,000 Chaos damage. Chaos Strike has a 40% chance to refund 20 Fury. Okay, so this will actually piggyback off of our essences as well. Okay, there's one particular essence for single target that this is like phenomenal, and I'm just doing Chaos Strike upon Chaos Strike upon Chaos Strike back to back without having to generate any Fury. It's ridiculous, and I'll get to that when we get to our essences. Okay, so you have Thirsting Blades, and then you have Revolving Blades. Okay, let's see here. Uh, check to see if I have any pieces with revolving blades. It does not seem like I do. Okay, well, alright, so essentially all revolving blades does is increases your dot damage of your blade dance. Essentially all it is. It just increases the damage. Um, so it's kind of like more of like, pick whichever one is works for you or whichever one you get lucky with. Okay? Furious Gaze is priority. If you want Thirsting Blades and Furious Gaze, and you end up with a piece with revolving blades, trust me, it's not going to matter. Your DPS is going to be the same. Your DPS will only drop if you don't have that Furious Gaze. It's it's absolutely necessary to have a 3-stack Furious Gaze, okay? Alright, so now I'm going to go back to my chest piece. We've gone over my helm, I've gone over my shoulders, now we're going to go over my chest piece, okay? And my chest piece is going to be uh, the last single Azerite trait that, that is absolutely necessary with your Furious Gaze, okay? Chaotic Transformation. Demon's Bite deals 1,462 additional damage, and then when you activate Metamorphosis, the cooldown of I-Beam and Blade Dance is immediately reset. That's insane. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you do your rotation correctly, this plays a huge part. Absolutely huge part. Because everything piggybacks off of Furious Gaze. Okay? The more I-beams, the more haste. The more haste, the more damage. Remember that. Alright? So, we got covered over the Azerite traits, and now we're going to go over the essences. Essences are a huge key part of Demon Hunter. Okay? There's only one actual optimal single target setup, and there's only one actual AoE setup. People like to experiment a little bit, but these are the traits or build-ups that I have found to be the best and the most optimal. Okay? So, single target first, okay? Condensed Life Force, rank 3. Rank 4 if you're lucky to get it, but rank 3. Okay? No ifs, ands, or buts. This is the most strongest single target essence in the game. Now, there's some classes that don't run condensed life force, for example, unholy DKs or, rep paladins because vision of protection or vision of perfection is just so good for their class that even condensed life force can't keep up. But for demon hunters, condensed life force. No ifs, ands, or buts. All right. Now, lucid dreams. Okay. Lucid dreams. Huge. Absolutely important. Because your spells and abilities have a chance to refund 50% of the fury spent on them, and then heal you for 30,000 and increase your versatility by 454 for 8 seconds. Okay? So, if you look back at Chaos Strike, slice your target for 64,000 Chaos damage. Chaos Strike has a 40% chance to refund 20 Fury. Okay? So you already have a chance to refund 20 Fury. Lucid Dreams procs, and you have a chance to refund 50% of the Fury spent on them. Right? And don't forget, because of the Thirsting Blades buff, your Chaos Strike now deals 21,300 additional damage and costs 40 less Fury. So you're already reducing the cost of the Fury. Okay? When you actually use the ability, you have a chance of refunding 20 Fury back, right? And then Lucid Dreams procs, and you have a chance to refund 50% of that Fury spent on them. So like just think about it. So it's just giving you Fury back just constantly, and you can just spam cast it left and right. Okay, and you're set up for Blade Dance because it's only 15 Fury to begin with. It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, rank 3 Breath of the Dying, huge, absolutely, so much damage. Your spells and abilities have a chance to strike your target for 28,000 fire damage and heal you for 50% of the damage dealt. Now, this is where it actually kicks off. If your target is below 20% health, the chance for extra damage is increased by 400%. Then it even gives you a corruption resistance of increased by 10. Absolutely important. Like, I cannot stress this one enough because when you check your DPS meters, your damage meters, this skyrockets to at least the top 5 because of that below 20% chance for extra damage is increased by 400%. It just has to be there. It's going to be there for your single target. It's going to be there for your AoE build. Okay. Now, Crucible Flame. I'm a little wonky about this one. Okay. It procs a lot. I'll be honest. It procs a lot. Now, there's times where I'm feeling kind of meh about it, and I'll swap it out with Vision of Perfection. Okay. Sim-wise, Crucible Flame still sims a little higher. Okay. Um, Spells and abilities have a chance to cauterize your target for 13,418 fire damage over 10 seconds, or to heal an ally for 13,418 over 10 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. So I think that's where that huge difference is where it can stack up to 3 times. That's all it is. If it didn't stack up to 3 times, I'd definitely be running Vision of Perfection, 100%. Okay. All right. So now AOE, we get to play with the beam. I beam, Iris beam, all the beams. We just beam everything, okay? That's what we are. We're demon hunters, okay? That's what we're gonna do, okay? Major essence, Iris. Alright? Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna swap out Crucible Flame with Purification Protocol, okay? Mother has added a Purification Protocol to your Heart of Azeroth, allowing your damaging spells and abilities to release a blast of Azerite energy at your target, dealing 18,647 fire damage to any enemy within 8 yards, and heals you for 6,752 every 2 seconds for 8 seconds. Purification Protocol deals 50% additional damage against aberrations. Okay? So, I'm not too worried about that 50% additional damage. Okay? If it happens, it happens. But you don't deal with too many aberrations when you do, for say, mythic dungeons. It just doesn't happen. Okay, uh, but huge amount of damage. This procs so much. It's actually one of my top 3 damaging abilities when I do AoE. Okay, and then we're gonna swap out Lucid Dreams with Vision of Perfection. Now, this can go either way as well. Um, Sometimes I run Blow to the Enemy instead of Visions. It really depends if I'm doing either Mythic Dungeons or AoE boss style during the raids. Okay? Because Vision reduces the cooldown of meta, so that means you can meta more. Okay? So that's kind of like a personal preference, I would have to say, is do you like to meta more? Right? Um, You know, the more you meta, the more your eye beams come off a cooldown, the more just straight out raw damage output you're going to be putting out. I mean, especially for longer fights in raid, reducing the cooldown on meta. That means you might be able to sneak in, another, you know, full rotation of a meta going out. Um, Mythic dungeons, if you're running Vision of Perfection, you know, your meta is going to be at least up, hopefully, by the time you get to every boss. I'm not going to say you're going to have meta for every boss because I know sometimes, depending on the group you're with, they clear trash a lot quicker. So, but, ultimately, that's only, that's when you get to the point of understanding the Demon Hunter and understanding the dungeons and the group you're with. So, yeah, so I would just say stick with Iris Major, Vision Minor, Breath Minor, and then Purification Minor for AoE. Okay? Alright, so we're going to talk about stat priority. Alright? Critical Strike and Verse. That's what you want to aim for. Okay? Um, there are going to be times where you get some mastery and some haste, but ultimately you want to be focusing on critical strike and versatility. Okay? Why I say not haste is because of your Azerite trait, Furious Gaze. You are eye beaming almost constantly, so your eye beam is going to sit, your haste is going to sit at a pretty high percentage majority of the time, right? Especially if you have a versatile navigation and a deadly navigation. Crit buff, haste buff. Verse buff, crit buff. Now, at the moment, I'm stacking a little bit more verse than I am crit, which is fine. You know, verse is never a bad stat to have. It's an overall just increase the damage, decreases damage taken, and healing done. Okay, it's never a bad stat to have. Okay, now I think secondary I have critical strike at 1288. Okay, um, and then I got mastery just scales a little higher on percentage ratio. So I know it's probably my highest percentage right now, but it's actually my lowest. Yeah, it's 779. Okay. Then I got 20% haste, which is fine. Okay. You just don't want to be overloaded with haste because there's absolutely no point. Okay. Now we're going to talk about some corruptions. So there's several ways that you can go about this. Okay. And it depends on how comfortable you are with playing a Demon Hunter in your rotation. So you can go either a Infinite Star build, or you can go more towards a stat based build when it comes to corruptions. Okay. Now, the downfall of Infinite Star build is that Infinite Star procs off of your haste. Now, that means that you want to be consistently working towards getting as much haste as you can for your Infinite Stars to proc. Now, Infinite Stars procs do proc in AoE, okay? They're not going to proc always on your main target, but it does still proc. Okay, I just want to throw that out there. Um, because it is a little more wonky, a lot more people have been starting to go towards the stat-based build, which would be something, for instance, like on my pants, I have a rank 1 uh, versatility corruption increases the amount of versatility you gain from all sources by 6%. That's just a stat, like a simple stat bump. Okay, it's not too much corruption, and it gives me a solid stat bump. You know, there's no downfall to it. You know, regardless of what it is, I'm getting a boost. Okay. For another one would be, increases the amount of haste you gain from all sources by 9%. Uh, I had a strike through, which was a crit and damage healing percentage bump. Um, so I would, if you're willing to go just a stat bump increase, I would recommend um, expedient rank 1 to 3, strike through 1 to 3, and then versatile, um, which is just a percentage bump for versatility, um, and then a strike through for crit and damage percentage bump. If you just want to go for a stat, damage output, those would be the three that I would recommend. Okay. Now, if you want to be more of a haste dependent demon hunter that your corruptions kind of rely on, it's gonna be your Infinite Stars. Okay. Now, I'll be honest. If you put together an Infinite Star build next to one of those um, simple stat corruption builds and sim them both together at the same time, your Infinite Star build is going to put out so much more damage. Okay. Now, yes, I understand that raid bot sims are, just stationary, 5 minute on a boss, blah, blah, blah. I know, I understand that. Okay. But I cannot tell you how good it feels when my Infinite Stars proc and one shot things. Okay? I'm going to be a little biased here. Okay? Now, if you look over here on my setup, I have a rank 2 Infinite Stars on my main hand, and I have another rank 2 Infinite Stars on my gloves. Okay? Along with my haste bump, my versatility bump. Okay? Then this weapon. This weapon right here drops off of Raden in the Nyalotha raid. Okay. I cannot stress this enough. Please, please at least get one of these. Okay. Get one of these. This Lash of the Void corruption procs so much. It's insane. It does so much damage. And I 110% recommend getting at least one of these. I was farming for weeks upon weeks to get two of them, right? I finally got two of them a couple weeks ago, and then I get this sword out of my weekly chest, So I had to give and take a little bit, right? But it's fine. So, but I'll primarily just use this for single target, and I'll swap out my unduant caress in my main hand for AoE because it hits in a cone. Okay, hits everything around it. So, all right. Now let's talk about rotation. So we're gonna be going over the abilities and how they piggyback off of each other. Okay, I know people say that Demon Hunter's easy and it's only a few buttons, you have to click and you put out decent amount of damage, okay? I'll be honest, you know, you guys are probably gonna look at me weird, but especially because I'm a Demon Hunter main, Demon Hunters are not the most OP class anymore. Trust me, they're not. Although they are simple to play, I will admit that. But you also need to be able to learn how to time things properly to get your maximized output of DPS. And that's just like any other class. Okay? So let's go over our main core abilities and then we're going to touch back on our Azerite trait pieces. Okay? And it'll kind of give you more of this in depth version of how everything actually works. Okay? So, main ability Demon's Bite, quickly attack for 9,821 physical damage, generates 20 to 30 fury. Simple. Just does damage and it builds up your fury. Okay? So Chaos Strike. Slice your target for 64,066 chaos damage. Chaos Strike has a 40% chance to refund 20 fury. Okay? Remember, Thirsting Blades. Buff, we got an additional, now, this 21,300 is automatically applied to Chaos Strike, okay? So that 64,000 is it, okay? Baseline plus whatever crit I have, okay? If I get lucky. Okay, so it's not going to be, 64,066 Chaos damage plus the 21,300. It doesn't work like that. It's automatically updated in your tooltip, okay? Blade Dance. Strike your primary target for 24,644 damage, physical damage. All nearby enemies for 10,487 physical damage, and increase your chance to dodge by 100% for 1 second. Okay? Huge. Huge. Because guess what? We're going to go back to it and check out our talents real quick. Okay? So, this is going to be your single target setup. Okay? 99, Demonic Appetite. Chaos Strike has a chance to spawn a lesser soul fragment, and consuming any soul fragment grants 30 fury. Okay, so when you're attacking, you want to be moving. You want to be strafing left and right. Okay, because as you're attacking, you're creating those soul fragments. Okay, so that means every time you collect those soul fragments, guess what? You're generating fury and you're reducing your cooldown on I beam. Okay, huge, absolutely important. Immolation Aura. Engulf yourself in flames, instantly causing 4,294 fire damage to enemies within 8 yards and radiating 1,600 fire damage every second. Last 10 seconds generates 80 fury over 10 seconds. Okay? Always needs to be up. Needs to be popped on cooldown. Okay? Now, Trail of Ruin. The final slash of Blade Dance inflicts an additional 12,540 chaos damage over 4 seconds. Okay? Blade Dance needs to be popped off of cooldown as well because you want to have this dot on your enemy at all times. No ifs, ands, or buts. If you have Blade Dance up off of cooldown, that means your dot is actually off your target and you need to pop it immediately. Okay? 104. So this one is kind of, preference. I pretty much just stay soul running because of the leech and gain an additional 10% leech while I'm in meta. Netherwalk is actually really good too. I run Desperate Instincts for Mythic Dungeons because Blur reduces damage taken by an additional 50%. So I mean this one's definitely, they're all really good choices, but I stick with soul running primarily. 106, First Blood, only option. Reduces the fury cost of Blade Dance by 20 and increases its damage to 24,644 against the first target struck. Doesn't get any better than that. Okay. Now, 108, preference again. Okay. Between two, Unleash Power and Fell Eruption. Okay. I'll swap between Unleash Power and Fell Eruption depending on the week for the Mythic Dungeons. But I like to usually just stick with Unleash Power, removes the Fury cost of Chaos Nova, and reduces its cooldown by 33%. You know, reducing a Fury cost, a resource cost on an ability, and then reducing its cooldown on it, and it's an AoE stun. I don't know. To me, that sounds really good. So I pretty much stick with Unleash Power. 110, Demonic, only option. Eye Beam causes you to enter demon form for 8 seconds after it finishes dealing damage. So, because of this, okay, it's ridiculous. Because it lines up with your Azerite traits so good. So juicy. Okay. So you got demonic, right? So let's go over our rotations now. Okay. This is how we are really just going to, get really deep into it. Okay. So what you want to do is before you start attacking the boss, okay, so you're out of combat, okay, you want to pop Immolation Ore at about the 3 to 2 second marker, okay, to give you time for pre-pots and condensed life force. So within the timer, so you got, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, condensed life force, 3, immolation aura, 2, pre-pot, because you want your pre-pot to be up, even longer because pre-pot you use a potion of unbridled fury, fill yourself with unbridled energy, giving your offensive spells and attacks a chance to do an additional 4,200 fire damage to your target for the last 1 minute. Okay, you want to maximize that output as much as you can as well. Okay, so you're gonna do that on your 2 second. Okay, and then at the one, you're starting to attack the boss. You want to, fell rush into there, and you want to get your blade dance up on your target as quickly as you can. Okay, you just want to start pounding. Okay, so your blade dance, you automatically got that damage bump. Okay, and then you do your chaos strike. Your chaos strike is just going to do some insane amount of damage. Okay. Now, because your immolation ore is already up, you're already generating that fury, okay? I beam will be up, okay, because it only costs 30 fury. Okay. Blast all enemies in front of you, dealing guaranteed critical strikes for a total of 45,300 chaos damage over 1.7 seconds. Your primary target takes 50% increased damage. Okay? So you have your immolation ore, you put out your blade dance, and your chaos strike. Okay? Once you I beam, okay, you want to I beam as soon as possible. Once you I beam, because of your demonic, right? I-beam causes you to enter demon form for 8 seconds after it finishes dealing damage. Okay? Now, just because you enter demon form, meta, okay, it does not proc chaotic transformation. When you activate meta, the cooldown of I-beam and blade dance is immediately reset. Okay? That's fine. You know, that would have been so OP, it would not even been fun to play. I'll be honest. Okay? But because you got out your first I-beam, right? Now it's on cooldown. Okay? Cooldown is for 30 seconds. You're not gonna have enough orbs out at the beginning of the fight to reduce that cooldown by at least 10 seconds. It's not going to happen. Okay? But what you can do is pop I-beam, get meta for 8 seconds, right? Then pop your actual meta. Okay? So meta procs transforms you into a demon for 30 seconds, right? And overall increases your damage, right? So you have 30 seconds. By that time you pop meta, you probably reduced that initial first 8 seconds to 6 seconds. So now you're sitting on 36 seconds of metamorphosis, right? But because of chaotic transformation, metamorphosis, when you activate metamorphosis, the cooldown of I-beam and blade dance is immediately reset. Guess what? When you just pop meta, you can I-beam again. And guess what? It gives you another additional 8 seconds of metamorphosis. Yes. So you're looking at, think about maybe another 2 seconds reduced, so you're down to 34 seconds. Add another 8. You're looking at, roughly about an additional 40 seconds to 41 seconds of meta. Just straight out meta. Almost a minute worth of meta, which is insane. Okay? So, that's where all your damage is going to be. You've already popped Condensed Life Force, and so you automatically got that damage bump, that damage increase, so you're just going to go ham. Alright? At the same time, as you're doing these damages with Annihilation / Chaos Strike, okay? But it's Annihilation and meta. You're creating souls. Strafe, left and right, all the time. Because you will not consume souls if you're just standing still. That's just the way they made the game. That you need to actually be moving within the current um, distance of the souls so you can be able to consume them, right? Now you can pop meta again while you're still in meta. And guess what? By that time, you should probably already have. You should be probably about the 15 to 20-second range in your first rotation of meta, right? That you pop I-beam. Pop it again, and it'll give you another 8 seconds of meta. So throughout this time, you're sitting on a metamorphosis that almost lasts a minute long. Metamorphosis increases your Chaos Strike and Blade Dance abilities, gaining 30% leech and 25% haste. That's insane. And you're doing this for almost a full minute within a fight. You know, your damage just skyrockets. So I'll show you guys exactly what it looks like. I don't have any pre-plots right now, but that's fine. Um, let's see here if I can do a DBM pull. Yeah, so you got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, Pop
Four,
Condensed Life Force,
three,
Immolation Aura,
two,
Pre-Pot,
1.
Fell Rush, Blade Dance, Chaos Strike, I-Beam, Meta, I-Beam again, and then you're just going to go through your rotation. Make sure that, Blade Dance, Immolation Aura is off of cooldown, Chaos Strike again, Blade Dance again, Demon's Bite, Blade Dance, Annihilation, don't forget the Strafe. I'm popping Blade Dance off of cooldown. Look at that. I-Beam's already up, and I just increased my meta time by so much, right? Immolation Aura off of cooldown. Look at that. Another I-Beam again. Look at that. If you look at the haste right there, 151% haste right now. Because your I-Beam doubles up when you get that increased haste from Furious Gaze, right? So that means when in an actual time frame, right? Because you're gonna get less on some of these bosses at the start, right? So when you do your actual initial opener, I'll sit at almost 300% haste, which is absolutely insane. So, so yeah, if you guys have any questions, just leave a comment below, and see you guys for the next one.